Build a sound money, sound money.
All right, are we live? Are we live?
I think you're gonna have to do it again.
Oh.
These guys cut me out.
All right, here we go. Hodl, hodl,
Hodl,
hodl.
save. Build a sound money, sound money.
Okay, I think are we on now?
Yeah, I think we're on.
All right, great. Well, welcome everyone. I was going to make this a private show, but then at the last minute I said, no, we're going to make this public because I have a special guest, a good friend, and also a speaker at our Bitcoin Working Man's Bitcoin cruise. And my son enjoyed Bitcoin Motorist speech more than anyone. And what he talked about was why Bitcoin is such an innovation, and then compared it to other innovations in history. So we have a link to it. If you haven't seen his talk, please watch it.
It's in the description below, so.
Okay, it's in the description, so you can link to it right there. So, and you have some things you can add to it today. We want to share that with us?
Absolutely. So first of all, let me just say a couple words about Ugly's kid. Ugly's kid, I met him on the cruise and we hit it off right away. He is a really, really good guy. So it was awesome to meet him, awesome to hang out with him, solid guy. He's somebody that I just met that one time at the cruise, but I feel like I've been friends with him for years. So so your son, Ugly's kid, is awesome, and can't wait to run into him again. After I gave my speech, I don't remember who it was specifically, but I think somebody at the cruise came up to me after I gave the speech, which was about Bitcoin as a technology compared to technology throughout history, and how technology, like say a printing press, could attack the oh yeah, thank you. Someone's complimenting my mustache. Thank you, Anna. Appreciate it.
We're competing with our bellies too. I feel real comfortable with Bitcoin Motorist because I finally have somebody that competes with.
I definitely got you beat on the mustache department though. So the point of my speech was how technology can actually damage the current power system. So for example, the printing press challenged the Catholic Church's rule. So the Catholic Church used to have an army, used to be able to execute people for heresy. But then after the printing press, we still have a Catholic Church. They just don't have the power that they used to have. They're basically just kind of an afterthought. So that was my what I was saying about how Bitcoin was going to do the same thing going forward. So after I gave my speech, somebody came up to me and they asked me if I had read a book called The Sovereign Individual. And actually, you have a copy of the book on your shelf.
I haven't read it yet.
Yeah. So what I didn't know this at the time, but basically a lot of what I talk about in my speech was already talked about in a book that came out in 1997 called The Sovereign Individual. So I have to read that book. I've read like the first few chapters of it, but I haven't read the whole thing yet. But it's amazing that The Sovereign Individual touches on a lot of the same points. The authors of that book, I mean, the fact that the book came out in 1997 and is so prescient as to what's going on nowadays about how the internet is basically challenging the government's power is kind of amazing. And I do recommend anybody who hasn't read that book to read that book and also watch my speech and kind of see the same kind of similarities. But yeah, I definitely need to read that book. And there was a speech at BitBlock Boom that happened recently where they did talk about the sovereign individual as well. A gentleman by the name of Stephen Cole. I haven't met Stephen Cole, but I've met like some of his friends. And he talked about kind of sort of the same thing I did, where he talked about how agriculture, which is one of the technologies that I didn't even bring up at my speech, how agriculture led to centralization, because in agriculture, the authorities can see exactly what you're planting and they can tax you very easily. So the people that were at the center of the civilization, the ones who were planting all the crops, they were basically at the mercy of the local lords who could see exactly when the crops were, who could see exactly when planting season was, who could see exactly when to collect the tax and everything, and how that led to centralization as well. And the further away you were from the center of the city, the more you were up in the outskirts, up in the mountains, the freer you were. So there was other crops that were planted up in the mountains. I think there was some sort of yams or something where they were planted underground and you couldn't see them, and they were up in the mountains, so they were difficult to tax. So Stephen Cole was saying that Bitcoin is like this other crop, not the wheat, not the rice.
Not like the marijuana crop.
Yeah, something like that. Something that's planted up in the mountains where it's very difficult to tax. So yeah, but Yeah, weed maybe. I don't really know. I've never planted weed, so I don't know. Maybe it does grow in mountains, but weed doesn't grow underground. The yams grew underground, so that was even better. So
Well, and I mean, the whole point is the uniqueness of Bitcoin, and that's what's so cool about it, the innovation that's Bitcoin.
yeah,
And so, which I just kind of find uh, ironic. I mean, a lot of us believe that Bitcoin really is not can't take off till we get rid of all the shit coins. And the way my good friend Tyler Jenks put it, we have to scrape all the barnacles off the ship, and hopefully that's happening.
yeah,
We know the introduction of INEX with the on the Ethereum, what is that, ER20 token. So far, that's been the top of the market, and it might be. And so uh, uh, I think that's got a lot to play. Where the markets are right now. So uh, I was going to make this for members only, but then at the last minute, I switched it. So I'm not going to go much into the trading. Right now, I'm out of the market completely, except I'm into a gold trade. And we can go look at that for a while. That looks like it's starting to finally to work today if we turn this market around. Basically, this is a seasonal trade that we are buying gold in August, and I didn't do a super job on it. I think my average is about 1940. We're about a little bit below that now. And you sell it into the election period in October, and you kind of the risk. The risk was not real clear at the beginning. Ideally, it's the August lows. I think today we have a good chance that we've turned it. So I think you can now, limit your risk if you follow us on that trade. Let's see, I think that you have Galilee on, and he was one, when I saw this trade, I said, you know what, I've got to do this because I don't see that. Here's the deal. Let me explain this. It's a fundamental trade. I used to do a lot of gold trading, and the refiners shut down in August. So there's a reason why you usually have an August sell-off, and then you rally. In this case, we have a lot of other dynamics. Number one is the bailout of everybody that's happened with the COVID crisis, which that's already been done. We're all socialists now. I mean, if you got any money, you're a socialist. Unless you want to give it back to the government. But we're all caught in this thing right now, and there are going to be consequences. So I think that's inevitable. I don't see there's any way. When I was in the gold market in a much larger way back in the late 70s and during the 80s, there was a lot of predictions that we would have $6,000 gold. I think now it can happen. And I think, for example, Douglas Casey, I know Peter Schiff, he's been predicting this for a long time. And gold has done well since 2000, but it hasn't performed as the stock market has or other assets. But right now we are in a situation, particularly if we go up and take out that $2,000 high, we are in uncharted territory. In order to go to 3,000 or 6,000 or higher, and like I said, there's no limit how high it can go because nothing's going to make sense. But in order to get there, you have to go back and start making new contract highs. Once that happens, there's no accurate way of knowing how high gold is going to go. And so that's what this trade is based on. It's not a technical trade at all. I call it a seasonal fundamental trade. The fundamentals are there. The seasonal is this is the right time to be buying it. It hasn't really worked, but today I thought looked like a pretty darn good reversal, and it looks like we've been, it looks like the big boys just accumulated between 1900 and 1950, particularly when it gets down below 1930. We rallied above that today. We'll see where it closes. I didn't even know how to do the trade, so I got up. We have if we did invite the public to join this, so if you're watching for the first time, welcome. We don't. This is normally a kind of a meeting that we would have for members only. I don't recommend you subscribe to my members only unless you have a HODL. Number one, the way I teach things is number one is you hodl, and I could make a little dance about it. We go hodl, and because that's you got to do that first. You got to learn to save, and then once you hodl, you're going to find out that hodl goes up in value. Now you want to save, and by that, that's a bastardization of the word savvy, S-A-V-V-Y is the way I spell it, save, or S-A-Y-V-V, I'm sorry. Uh, and you need to reward yourself, and it could be in a small way. It might be an upgrade of your computer. Uh, the goat lady, she's building a new house. You know, so that's her reward. The last time she got an F-250 truck, and I rewarded myself and got 2 razors, which we're going on a trip here after this show. We're going to Rindy, and so maybe we'll do a live broadcast from that.
Can't wait to do some motoring.
Yes, Bitcoin Motorist will be motoring. So this is what we do, and then the last thing we do is we build and we build only on Bitcoin. So it doesn't necessarily have to be on Bitcoin. Now I've done it through Ugly Old Goat, but you can do it in your own business, whatever business you're in, or if you're not an entrepreneur but you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be looking into that expertise. One of the analogies I used was I had an acquaintance who was a roofing salesman way back when, and he was the top salesman in the city, and he wanted to become an entrepreneur, and he had an outstanding reputation. So he just got together 10 of the biggest roofers in town and said, look, I want to form a company. I will manage it. You guys each have 10% of the equity every year. I buy out your 10% of it. And at the end of 10 years, I'll own the company. But in the meantime, you're buying all this roofing materials you're getting anyway from yourselves. And you're also profiting from all the other roofers in town that are buying from me. And he set that up, and it worked out very, very well. And so that's what, again, my belief is that the next big move in Bitcoin is not going to come from banking the unbanked. Those people are unbanked for a reason. It's going to become from entrepreneurs. And there's only 2 kinds of entrepreneurs in the world, those with Bitcoin and those without Bitcoin. And so it's really our job as entrepreneurs with Bitcoin to teach those how important it is to put yourself on the Bitcoin standard. So that's what I do. And the number one thing we do is you hodl. The way you enter the market is you do it through dollar cost averaging. Once you do that, then you can start trading, because you do have to learn how to manage Bitcoin, and you do that by managing your equity. I know that people sell all these trading systems and get rich quick overnight. It doesn't work that way. But you can trade very successfully, but you have to know what you're doing. And the number one thing that you need to know is money management. I actually teach that you can throw all your charts away. You can throw, because fundamental analysis, technical analysis it's going to hurt you rather than help you if you don't have money management. That's the key. Once you get that, you really don't have to be that good a trader. And like I say, I publish all of my trades. If you want to see what I do, you can subscribe. It's not cheap. I charge a tenth of a Bitcoin to become a member. You get all of my trading history. If you sign up through an existing member, they have links, and incidentally, we put your link on it. So if you want to sign up,
feel free to use my link.
Use his link, and you'll get a 15% discount. We pay him a little 10%, and what you get with that, we have a new aid called the Equity app that was developed by Victor Villacania. He can't be on the show today, but basically we recommend you trade your equity, and that's how you avoid catastrophe trading in the markets. And you do get that free with a subscription. And then it is we had an initial offering where it was a lifetime subscription, but that's no longer available because it's just not a viable setup business model for the long run. So it is a renewable every year, but we have to earn that renewal. Hopefully every year we'll get better and better at the services that we're offering. Hopefully I'll get a little bit better on YouTube. Hopefully I'll keep up my track record. Basically, I started publishing all of my trades in the fall of 2018. I started out on Medium, and I published my trades, and I started with 2 Bitcoin and ran it into 22 by the end of the year. And then BitMEX, actually, because I'm a U.S. citizen and I couldn't be trading, they closed my account, so I don't even have that record anymore. So I started again with Bitcoin, with 2 Bitcoin on February 4th. And so far, I've taken out, let's see, last year I took out 32, and this year 29, so whatever that is, over 60 Bitcoin, I guess 61 Bitcoin, and starting with just 2. And again, these short-term wonders that brag about how well they do at the trading, show me, publish your trading in real time, because that's the only way you'll ever get credibility with me. In fact, I'm looking into, we probably will be doing this and having a trading contest, because I tell everybody I'm really not that good of a trader. And most of you guys can be much better than I am or ever will be, once you understand and get into your DNA this money management, because it's really the most important thing. All the rest is just fluff. If you get this money management aspect down, and we built this tool just for that purpose, so you can measure your own equity on BitMEX. And so that's the way I was doing it unconsciously, and then I was approached by Victor, and I said, I actually approached him. I said I wanted to do a sequential on my own equity, and he built the program. So we are offering that now for new members. You can also buy it separately for $350 if you don't want to become a member. And then what we're going to do is have a contest, but I'm going to call it the GOAT Con, greatest of all time trading contest. It's not going to be for 2 weeks. It's not going to be teams. It's not going to be where people can manipulate, but you will have to, you can start at any level, as little as 0.2 Bitcoin, which is a couple $1,000, or you want to do 200. You just have to declare what you're going to risk. We don't recommend you put that full amount on the exchange. You put a small percentage on there. And the winner is going to be whoever, after an entire year of trading, has the biggest gain. We haven't figured out exactly what the reward will be. I'll probably throw in at least a Bitcoin on it, and hopefully we'll get some other sponsors on it too. But I can, if you want to do this, lifetime members, you can participate free. Anybody can be in this thing, and we'll be writing a special program for it. So I was out on my razor, and I relaxed, going fast out in the country, and this idea came to my head. I said, this is what we need. This is how you guys can really develop your trading. We will have to write all kinds of rules on it, and we will have to be able to monitor your account live. So if you don't want to do it, that's fine. We will have to have your private key, just like my private key I've given to the equity app, so people can actually monitor it live. Like my account is there live for everybody to see. Not while I'm actually making the trade, but as soon as they're executed, they're there. We won't be showing people's actual trades, but we will show their equity changes on the equity app. So kind of excited about that. We have a long way to go, and but that's a new project that we're working on. And now we can go look at the gold trade if you want. This thing's been long suffering, guys. I do think that now we're at the point where I think it looks like we may have had a major reversal today. It's not confirmed until we make contract highs. We have to get above 1950 and then 1980, but I think it'll kind of shoot above 2000 rather quickly when it goes there. And I do think the move from 2000 to 3000 will be relatively fast compared to most gold moves. I might be wrong on this, but once we get above 2000, we really have we're all in, we're in a bull market, and there's no limit, how high you go. That's why I do not set targets. I don't believe in risk reward ratios. I do believe that you have to learn to when you're in a winner, you need to learn to ride it for all it's worth. So far, this trade has not been a winner. The way we decided to enter it was through Evolve, and because they are a market that allows you to use Bitcoin as a collateral to purchase gold. And we have Galilee has joined our show. When I went to my group, again, I learned from this group that hopefully I learned as much or more than they learned from me. But I asked, hey, I want to do this trade. I don't know the best place to go. And Galilee had already figured it out. He looked at multiple exchanges and figured out that Evolve Market has the best service for that particular trade. I don't recommend. I'm not recommending this exchange. I know nothing about them. So you do have an exchange risk that's unavoidable. You need to understand that. But I'll take it over from there. And Galilee, do you want to get on and tell people a little bit about Evolve and why you found it to be the best exchange if you want to do a trade like this? And then also we have his affiliate link if you decide to do this trade and you want to sign up. Please sign up through Galilee because he's familiar with how to set you up on the exchange and keep you from making some basic mistakes that he taught me how to use the exchange, and it's very much worthwhile, the service that he provided. So are you there, Galilee?
Yeah, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I can walk everybody through it. And there's a guide. Maybe you should start there. There's a guide I made that walks through the most important questions. I think you're not seeing it. You have to pass on the screen sharing. The host thing you have to do, Ugly. Pass it on over to me. Okay, it's done. So let's see. Yeah, so there's a guide I made that I'm gonna share in the comments probably, or you'll get the link to it, that walks you through how you can set up an exchange, an account on the exchange, very easy, and then goes through the different most important questions that you probably want to have answered. And the reason why I chose this exchange is simply because they have the best fee structure. I looked at a bunch of different exchanges that have the ability to trade with Bitcoin collateral in the traditional markets. There's Prime XPT, there's Simple FX, there's a bunch of other ones, all very new ones. And as Ugly said, it's important that you keep that in mind when you deposit any funds on there. They're unregulated. They exist sometimes for only a couple months, sometimes a couple of years. Evolve is a couple of years, but definitely trade, act accordingly, and take the exchange risk with what it is. Evolve is a good platform because they have mainly very low fees for funding. Basically, if you hold a contract overnight, you see that here in the specifications of the contract, you pay $9 per contract, which is 100 ounces, which we did the math, Ugly and I, is actually less than holding a futures contract on the CME. So that's very, very good if you want to hold a contract for a longer term, like we're trading, more position trading. Then the spread is fairly small. It's only 0.18 at this point, or 0.2. And the commissions to trade are like 0.0035%. So it's fairly cheap to trade. The platform is also quite good once you familiarize yourself with it. I go through the most important parts, which is basically understanding this part here down here, which displays your position and the price that you entered and the profit that you made. What you want to pay attention to is the balance and the equity. If you have
Did we lose you? Are you there? Hello?
An Evolve account is basically a cross-margin account on BitMEX. So all your margin is applied to your position, and if your equity drops below zero, you get liquidated automatically. That's in essence what you need to know. There's a couple things you want to pay attention to that outlined in this guide. Especially you want to change to netting if you set up the account, and then you want to familiarize yourself a little bit with the with the contract, which is a contract for difference, a CFD, which is it's the big difference is that you're actually not, it's not a peer-to-peer contract, so you're not trading against somebody else, but you're trading against the exchange itself. So it's more like betting. And actually that has also some tax advantages in some countries. So you might not be tax liable for that kind of stuff, especially if you're in the EU. And the contract that you're going to trade is 100 ounces per contract, and you can trade as little as 1 ounce, so 0.01 of the contract. And yeah, I can show you in a second how you can place the orders. Pretty straightforward. Those are the fees. We talked about that already. And that important part that you definitely want to pay attention to, which is also this great tool that was built by somebody else in the group, is the liquidation. Here's the formula to calculate it. The exchange itself does not calculate the liquidation price. So you have to.
Yeah, we lost you again, I think.
Oh, guys, can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're back. I don't know. You cut out for a little while, but you're back.
Okay. I don't know where I cut out. I was just talking and talking.
About 10 seconds or so.
Oh, okay. No problem. Then it's cool. So yeah, I mean, that's the gist of it. Let me try to log into the exchange one more time so I can show how you can actually trade on it. And then if you have any questions, there's on that guide, you can just contact me on Twitter. Not on Twitter, on Telegram. I'm happy to help with anything that comes up. Any questions that you have while you set up this trade and use the account, use the exchange. If you want to place orders, there's a different ways to do it. The most intuitive way is to right click on the chart and just go to trading and then buy or sell. And then this pops up and you can click here and then you see the order on the actual chart. If you want to sell, you click on top, you click sell and you confirm and you have the same here. This would be an order for 10 ounces, 0.1 of the contract. Contract is 100 ounces. You can also do market buys or sells by clicking this and buy, or you can go to a different panel over here and click here.
Yeah, for those that are familiar with BitMEX, it does work just a little bit differently. On BitMEX, one of the unique things that BitMEX does, which I think is just really great, is on the funding. They just provide that as a service, and either the longs are paying the shorts or the shorts are paying the longs, depending upon whether we're in a contango or a backwardization. And so that makes it really great, a fair way of trading. Here, they charge a funding for either whether you're long or short, although the longs generally pay more than the shorts is the way it should be. But the house, because they're accepting that risk, they keep all of the funding.
Yeah.
So you should be aware of
so
that.
Actually, I talked to the exchange about that, and they said they're actually not getting that money. They're paying that to their liquidity provider. So they're just passing that on to roll over the exposure for the account, because in the background they're actually getting that exposure from a different exchange, and they have to roll over your position every day. That's why you have to pay it, basically.
Okay.
I don't know if that is true, but that's what they're saying.
Well, there is a fee involved. There's a risk involved. I just thought the way BitMEX handled it was just ingenious, and it's really, I mean, people badmouth BitMEX, but by far and away the most efficient and best exchange I've ever seen. And I think that's just another feature. It's just an incredible thing that they do, and they offer it as a service. They make absolutely nothing off of that. And but it makes it for a very a much more honest market, because when that funding goes up in one direction or the other, you're encouraging hedgers to get in there and hedge, or speculators to get in there and take the opposite side, which provides the liquidity that you need. So
yeah, it's also, I think I have to like maybe emphasize that one more time. This exchange is not a peer-to-peer exchange. It's like a bucket shop, right?
Yep.
So you actually are betting against the exchange. The exchange is is your counterparty.
And that's why you have the spread difference. Like in BitMEX, a lot of times there's literally no spread, just one tick, separate. There's no spread between the bid and just one tick. Whereas there is a spread here, which is a reflection of market risk. So, but the spread is so far it's been very reasonable but you can always expect that as volatility increases, that spread will increase. And also you have to trade it a little bit different. For example, when BitMEX is in a sharply rising or falling market, I will price orders if I'm buying above the market because I'll take whatever is there. Whereas in this market, if you do that, you're going to get the price you put it at. They'll pop it up there and fill you. So you want to be a little bit more stingy with your priced orders. That's the best way I can put it. It's just different. It's nothing, inherently wrong with it at all. It's just different, and you need to keep that into account when you're using it. So
yeah, just get familiar before you build a big position. Probably just play around with it. They have a demo version, so you can just use the demo version to get familiar with the platform. Yeah.
All right, that's it. I would share my equity app, but I'm not even in the market right now. I guess I could, just for people that want to see how it works. I don't think I need on this computer. We'll save that for another day. But I did want this mainly for members. We are public now, but I did want to get you members excited because we are going to start promoting our service and the newsletter more, particularly with the equity app. And so we'll actually have a contest with that. And as members, it costs nothing to participate in it. As a member, you can participate and see how you do. And we're going to have it set up so it doesn't matter what size you are. We don't care if you have, if you're trading with 0.2 Bitcoin, 2 Bitcoin, 20 Bitcoin, 200 Bitcoin. Makes no difference. It's going to be after a full year, how did you percentage-wise? Because look, guys, 2 or 3 weeks trading means nothing to me. Anybody can do that. Success, that's easy to be that kind of success. What's hard is to be consistent and not have those big downturns, to be consistently successful. And also, again, my whole thing is you don't want to be giving up the rest of your life to be a trader. Maybe you can pull up that article that I wrote is the most establishing a position, the most difficult.
Galilei might have to pass host back on.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Can you pass it back, Galilei, and I'll direct people to this article. But basically, it's a medium. Yeah, you go. I'll go. You probably can find it easier on Medium. Just go how to establish a position on Google or Ugly Old Goat, and it'll pick up. But basically, in that article, I actually have a picture of a skull with a bullet hole through it, ballistic trauma, they call it. And the reason I put that on is one of the greatest, just Google it. I think it'll be better. Just go into Google search and do how to establish a position. I will go, it should pop up. No, not market size. Oh, so there it is. Establishing position, the hardest thing in holding. No, the other one.
The other one?
Yeah, the one above it. That's it. Okay. Yeah. And I wanted to illustrate this because I always tell people, oh, no, you're a great trader. No, I'm really not. One of the legends of all time was Jesse Livermore. But if you've ever studied the life of Jesse Livermore, he was ultimately a great failure because he basically was one of the pioneers in TA. He made and lost fortunes time and time again, but died completely penniless and actually killed himself through ballistic trauma. So, I want you to avoid those things. That's why I'm here to guide you. Trading doesn't have to be that way. It's only that way if you make it that way. Trading can be a lot of fun. You can, particularly nowadays, with the advances of the exchanges, you can't lose any more than you put on the exchange. That didn't used to be the case. when you traded futures, you could lose, and oftentimes did lose much more than you put on the exchange. And when we had the big inflationary run up in the 70s, and I think it started in 1973 was a year in commodities, much like Bitcoin. And the exchanges simply weren't ready for those kind of price swings, and they actually had limit moves. And the market would go up the limit or down the limit 5 or 10 days in a row. You literally could not get out. And by the time you did get out, you were completely wiped out. You not only lost everything you had, but you had a margin call to make up the difference too. And that can't happen anymore with these modern exchanges. And so you need to understand, and this is a very good article if you're a beginning trader to go through and look at. But the whole thing is being the biggest trader on the block doesn't mean you're the best trader on the block. And it's also a matter of personal lifestyle. It's not that important. I mean, to the best of your ability, and it's hard to keep your ego out of trading. So that's what we could do. Oh, another thing you might do is for new people that are thinking about subscribing, again, unless you have a hodl of a Bitcoin or two, I don't really recommend you subscribe to my service. Almost all of my content is available free on the website. We have put almost all of the articles now on the website. They're also all are on Medium. But if you want my actual trading history, we send that to you on a CSV file along with an equity app where you can actually trace it and see how I trade and try and avoid those swings and downturns that's so prevalent with most traders. And that's really the useful thing about the equity app. And we just started about 2 months ago. I had my fingers crossed. I prefer written word over YouTube or over YouTube or I prefer writing is the best thing. I prefer a newsletter. But we did a Telegram group, and it's turned out really well. And we have kept because we want it to be a place where you can learn, and people really respected what it's for. We keep the TA out completely. Price predictions we try and keep out completely. We do kind of allow fundamental analysis, but the emphasis is equity app. We also have another ugly old gold troll. So if you have something that isn't quite appropriate on our trading group, we have another group where you can just troll and say, well, I think the market's going to do this or that. We don't care what you do there. And that's one of the benefits that you get, as a member. So look it over. If you use the link there to get a 15% discount, and maybe we'll do another show here. I'm sure we will in the next few weeks on the equity app and just how it works. We've made all kinds of new changes on it. Do we have it there or not? Do we load it? I don't think it's on this computer. But I don't have a position anyway. I mean, you can track and see. Well, but you want to look at the Bitcoin. We can look at Bitcoin for a little while. I would say on Bitcoin, guys, we have that descent. We have all those tests of 10,000. It looks to me like it's highly likely that we're going to break down below it now. So don't know for sure. I don't have a position on. I did take a position, and I kind of violated some rules. I don't have any problem getting out of the market, and you need to learn to do that and just not being in the market for a while. And that's where I am now. I do have this gold trade on, and that's it. And I got out of step a little bit. I should have. I didn't. I got out at the top. So quite a bit of the gold lady is building Ammous, so we sold quite a bit of Bitcoin up there, 12,000. But my speculative position, I got wrecked along with everyone else. I did well on the first downturn, and I just got a little too bearish too quick on Ethereum. And I do think that I'm looking at this Bitcoin dominance. I think it's getting really ready to turn in here before the end of the month. And maybe we could look at that. Maybe you could put up, can you put up the TradingView Bitcoin dominance chart? Maybe, I think it's the weekly or monthly. We're coming up on a 9. And I think that's something that's worthwhile looking for. Just put TradingView Bitcoin dominance up there and it'll pop up. TradingView Bitcoin dominance. Yeah. Okay, hit that. All right. Now go down there and hit full featured chart. Yep. All right, and then put it on, boom. Put it on the daily. Okay, now put it on the weekly. The weekly is the one I think we want to be looking at. There you go. Okay. Well, actually, we got a green 1. That could still turn into a red 7. But we're getting close here to this thing turning around. And it's very hard to play the Bitcoin dominance. And the reason for that is that the alt markets just swing a lot farther the other way. If you notice, for example, Ethereum went way up to 480 when Bitcoin did nothing. Now, when it falls, it's going to do it does just the opposite. So I've done very well shorting the alts. You know, for years. This year, I haven't done. I took a pretty big hit shorting Ethereum, but I was long a lot of Bitcoin, so I still made out very well. But this, I think you need to be looking at this because I do think hit the monthly. Can you hit the M up there? Let's go look at the monthly tab. All right. So here we go. Yeah, how far are we going to break on this? I don't think we're going to go a lot lower, guys. And maybe I'm very biased. I am very biased because I do think they're all shit coins. And I also just don't think Bitcoins can go to the next level until everybody understands what Bitcoin is, why it's such an innovation, why the shit coins are shit coins, why all we need is a standard to build on. We don't need multiple standards. And the idea of multiple standards, competing standards, is not the same as currency competition. The competition will come on the standard. That's what the Bitcoin standard is going to evolve on. And I think the best way we can look at it is by looking at the gold standard at the turn of the 19th century. The big innovation then was not gold, but the gold standard. Banks learned to regulate the money supply through money creation, and it was not created ex nihilo. It was not created out of nothing. Rather, they regulated the money supply by increasing it as new goods were produced and offered into the marketplace. And then as those goods were sold off, those notes would be retired. And they could be used to purchase gold or any other countless things that were being offered on the marketplace. And it was a way, that was the monetary, it was a free market monetary policy where the market actually decided what the money supply should be. If there was an over expansion of credit, then those notes would be redeemed in the gold claim. And this is essentially what's going to be happening on Bitcoin. I do think we need to distinguish between Bitcoin and the Bitcoin standard. Bitcoin will never become the universal unit of account unless we have to have free banking in conjunction with a money that can't be tampered with. And it will be the bankers of this world. And as a hodler, guys, you are the new up and coming bankers. This is what my mentor, E.C. Harwood, he called it the lost art of commercial banking. And it's completely lost. We're going to have to relearn it. And we're learning that process now. It's not going to be easy. We're going to make mistakes. But this is the process that we're going on down. And there's going to be lessons to be learned along the way. And so this is why, I was more than willing to have one of my heroes, Samson Moe, along with um,
Alan.
Yeah,
Alan Silver.
Alan,
Silbert.
Cyber on,
Or
because I understand you still have to live within some limits. I was a commodities broker before there was a CFTC. If I wanted to continue with my livelihood, I had no choice but to register with the CFTC. And then a few years later, when they came out with commodity options, I had to take the test and register as a Series 7 security broker. If I wanted to offer those things to other people and be in that business, I had to register. So I understand. I'm not sure that they had to do that. I'm not sure that's the right thing to do, because I don't think the SEC contributes a thing to anything or anyone. So INEX has a lot of obstacles they have to overcome. And number one is, will they ever have a viable exchange? As a decent sized trader, I'm looking for viable markets. I'm not out to promote a market before it's viable. I want a viable market, and then they'll want my business because I do trade, and we'll just see how it goes. I mean, I'm not I won't be participating in that, but by the same token, I kind of understand where they're coming from. But the innovation has already occurred, and the innovation has come from guys like Arthur Hayes, who I think was the biggest innovator in the markets since I've been around, for the last 70 years. And there's other individuals that have built successful exchanges, like the Mexican exchange Bitso and Pablo Gonzalez. These were not built through corporate entities, but these were individuals who, risked everything that they had to build an efficient exchange. And two different games. I mean, if you're here in Mexico, Bitso has to comply with all the Mexican laws. Arthur Hayes figured out a way to avoid it, hopefully forever, but at least he's, they're going to be KYCing, and I get that. I don't have a problem with that because I'm a trader. I get it. Other people do have a problem with it, and that's fine. If you do, then KYC exchange is not for you. But it's not if as a trader, I don't have a problem with that. My next thing I want to be looking into is a liquid network, because I do think that's a huge potential. I'm kind of been negligent not going that direction. Does anybody have any questions? And then
I think there are a few questions in the chat that I saw. We have Shenjin Sun says, can you share the documentation link? I'm assuming they were talking about the link for what Galilei was showing.
The link, does Galileo's link?
I think we have on a previous video.
Yeah, it's on a previous video. We'll add it to this one. So yeah.
And then can Bitcoin rally despite shitcoins, and what scenarios? Let's see. I have a feeling shitcoins will be with us for a long time. And then, so if Bitcoin is being dragged along with stocks, what will be the catalyst that finally makes it uncorrelated? I thought the halving was supposed to do that. So there's a couple of questions there if you want to address those.
Well, number one, nobody knows. We really don't know. The fundamentals actually, as far as I'm concerned and everyone out there is concerned, the longer that we don't go into a new bull market, as long as we stay in this trading range, the better it is, because you can actually accumulate more Bitcoin at these rates.
That's how I see it.
Yeah,
I mean,
we're going to have a total collapse of the shitcoin market, and that's the way I see it, or at least they're going to be a non-event. And how long that's going to take, I don't know. Frankly, the faster we can have a catastrophe, the quicker the lesson
right.
will be learned.
I mean, as a hodler, I have no problem with Bitcoin tanking. I can accumulate more, and I can also maybe watch some shit coins die. But
I mean, if you're getting wrecked, and it's disturbing your lifestyle, then you are way over trading. And for many of you, you don't need to trade at all if you're not if you're not suited for it. And some people just really aren't. And what I try and teach is avoid that big mistake. And the only fatal mistake in trading is not managing your equity. So as far as it goes,
we have a math question.
I mean,
also.
imagine Ethereum. I mean, and Samson Moe actually, I made a little cut of his interview that he was on with Vitalik with I can't remember
Peter McCormack.
Peter McCormack, yeah. And I cut that little thing out. I said, well, if Infura gets hacked on the exchanges acknowledge Ethereum is dead. And they built this new exchange with the Ethereum ERC token. Now, it won't destroy that token because apparently, and again, I'm not a back end, they can reconstruct it on another chain. But again, the question is, why is the token even necessary? And I think that's the other than, they want to get an army of NX users to promote it, but it will gain its own steam if it's an efficient exchange. And I'm not saying an exchange can't be built that way. Maybe it can. It's just that historically, the exchanges have always been created by the users. It's always been the commodities exchanges were not created by speculators. They were created by people in the grain business and the wheat business or the corn business or the soy, whatever. They emerged, and it was to pass off risk, not to assume risk. And then the speculators come in and assume that risk. It's a legitimate economic function, guys. Speculation is not gambling. Gambling is you create a risk that does not otherwise exist. So the foundation for the futures exchanges was from the commercial users. The same thing actually happened with BitMEX. I know that it was founded by a lot of people, large holders, and they needed a way to pass off risk. And Arthur Hayes figured out a way to do it very efficiently. And then in every jurisdiction, we need to have on and off ramps. And so here in Mexico, it's Bitso. Now there's been other Mexican exchanges, but Pablo Gonzalez, I think it's Ben Peterson, they figured it out, and they've run a very efficient and effective exchange. And other exchanges have survived some very perilous situations. I was victimized by the Bitfinex hack, and I've lost hundreds of Bitcoin off of exchange losses. Now that hasn't happened for years, and it happened when Bitcoin was much lower in price. But that's a very real risk. So
we had a math question about liquidation, which is Todd said that if he buys BTC long with $1,000 at 100x, how does he figure what his liquidation price is? And then Severin Ludwig said it's 1,000 divided by 100x equals $10. So his liquidation price is $10. So I don't know if you want to address that or not.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't, because it's like, I know that I was just watching a video and these guys were emphasizing how important and how much money you can save. Well, you know what? The key is you shouldn't be getting wrecked very often. I get wrecked. You're going to get wrecked. It's not that big a deal. The key is your equity. And I mean, you can play little games and avoid paying that insurance fund or whatever it is and set stops here or there. I don't have a problem. I use the actual index rather than a price stop. because if you start using stops, they're going to spike you down and they're going to stop you out. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. And there's no way around that. Using the equity app helps you. If you use your cross is not going to stop you out on those spikes. It will stop you out if the indexes go down there. And yeah, as a position goes against you, your liquidation, you can't rely on that. If you're on cross, you can't rely on that liquidation price, because as the market goes against you, it's going to rise up and it'll take you out. So, you know, we did a special video with Socrates, who I thought addressed it very thoroughly. I would recommend it's freely available on our website. I don't think we charge you anything for that. I think that it was a public thing. So go, do you know which one I'm talking about? Can we send them, show them that broadcast? But he did a really good job, and he's done a whole series of, you know, how the liquidation works on BitMEX. And these guys, look, I'm a trader. I don't get too anal in my trading. I'm an analyst, but I warn people, don't become an analyst. Sometimes you just get, you know, you can get too deep into this stuff. I actually took myself out of the market over the weekend because I was finding, for a real simple reason. I wasn't wrong in the market or anything like that, but I only was going to, yeah, that's the one. I was only going to put up the half of Bitcoin. I put up on the full Bitcoin. I had an equity drop off half of that. So you know what? I was with my family and I was devoting all my time. I was focusing on the market rather than focusing on them. And you know what? There's more to life than trading. So we're here today. We're going to get out here. There it is. There's the video you want to go. And he did a great job. And incidentally, I do recommend that Hyper Theory book that that was written by Tyler Jenks and Leah Wald and Socrates. And he has a really good section on there for technical analysis. And for $10, you can't beat it. You use that in combination with Tone Vay's free TA program. It's all right there. I've spent thousands, probably $50,000 or $100,000 or more on various books in my day. That library is all gone, got confiscated and destroyed by who knows what, when, or where. And apparently the same thing happened to Tyler Jenks' library, a good chunk of it. So, but a lot of that information is there free, and take advantage of it. It's really good stuff. But again, it's the last thing you need to be looking at. The thing that I think we can, and I know by me publishing my trades and having this Telegram group and being responsible to these guys, it's made me a better trader. I'm much less likely to screw up because of this, because I'm sharing my actual trades with the members on the group. And so in that sense, and like I said, we kind of monitor the system. Somebody made a projection, so, oh, the market's going to go down to this. And I said, hey, we don't need that on this. And then I'm somewhere along the line, I made a comment where I'm bullish on Bitcoin, fundamentally why I'm bearish on the alts. I said, well, that's a double standard. Well, it's really not. Number one, it's my Telegram group, so I'm the dictator. I get to decide what crosses the line and what doesn't. So it's maybe not fair all the time. But what would be a double standard is if I get blown out because I had too much money on the exchange and I was trading too big a part of my huddle. If that happens,
yes, that would be hypocrite.
That is a double standard. And my son said, you know, you need to do a lesson on two things: what a double standard is, and do what. When I say father, and he's a grown son, I used to tell him, do as I say and not as I do. And I do say the same thing, guys. If I blow out because I mismanage my funds, you know, it doesn't mean that what I'm telling you is wrong. Do what I say. Don't do as I do. And by me being responsible and publishing all these trades, it's much less likely that I'm going to go off into the wild blue yonder and blow up my account.
Right.
And I think that's what we're all here to do, to help each other. And I want everybody here to be a successful trader. And it's got nothing to do with TA. It's got nothing to do with fundamentals. Initially, it's got everything to do with money management. You need to learn that first. We hodl fundamentally, okay. Bitcoin is a hyperwave. That was the only weakness of that book. Hopefully when they do a second edition, they're going to outline why, because I know the reason they didn't technically, it's not a hyperwave till we hit new highs, but fundamentally, while not technically a hyperwave, fundamentally Bitcoin is a hyperwave. And so that's why we dollar cost average. And then once you get that fundamental, that's why you're dollar cost averaging. Now, when you actually go into trade, now your TA can be very useful. You know, now you're talking, but you have just TA and think you're going to make a lot of money by, following some kind of system. You're going to learn a real hard lesson. So, all right, what else? Anything else? I see a huge, yes, global crisis everywhere. I think complete insanity is coming. You're not going to make sense of anything unless you're on the Bitcoin standard, and even then, it's going to be very, very difficult. The challenges that you guys have ahead, I don't envy. Okay, I won't be around for it, but yeah, you're going to have, and Bitcoiners are really. Again, I'm going to direct you to EC Harwood. And what it really is boils down to, we have this wonderful mechanism, Bitcoin. But for it to really succeed, it's going to take an entirely new way of thinking. And the number one thing it's going to require is men of integrity. Because for banking to exist, there will be trusted third parties that will arise, and to a degree, I think this is what the liquid network is based on. That's why I want to be looking into it, because I think I don't know all the details yet, but from my cursory observation, it's the first genuine step in that direction. And you need to understand how exchanges were actually created to begin with. When, for example, in the commodities exchange, if a member goes awry, and they do every few years, if some membership on the CME or the Board of Trade would go broke, all the other members would have to kick in and bail out that firm. Now and that was to ensure that none of the speculators, none of the retail customers lost any funds. The same thing happens with banking. So, if there's a bad bank out there, basically the other banks come in and bail out that bank. And of course, the fall of that was when they nationalized that system and federalized it into the central bank.
Well, originally the investors in the bank were personally liable. So if a bank went bankrupt, the owners of the bank actually were ruined, were wiped out.
Yes.
So that was a very good incentive for them to manage it properly. So the
and
protection.
The same is true if you're trading commodities.
Yeah.
If you're risking your entire net worth, they can come after you until you're bankrupt to collect that margin call.
So I'm not sure whether getting rid of personal liability was a good thing or a bad thing. A lot of businessmen like that. They incorporate and they do LLC, so you can't come after them personally. So, and I'm not saying that's about you. You should definitely do that if you're in business. But maybe the old style where you were actually personally liable for everything was the better system, because then you were a lot more careful with how you conducted business. You couldn't just do some crazy risk, and if it paid off, you made money. If it didn't, then you could just walk away from it. So
yeah, and that's going to be another problem too that I see, is that there's so much quote easy money made in speculation that people are getting away from creating true value. And then you have an entitlement society, and these are lessons that unfortunately most lessons are not learned the easy way. Most of the lessons, and I'm perfect example. I've had a lot of lessons in life that, if I'd have just listened to somebody or done it what I knew was right to begin with, I wouldn't have had the consequences. But the consequences that we have now, going on due to this COVID bailout, the card's been dealt, guys. We've already, how many trillions have they pumped into this thing? And you don't think it's going to have an effect? You don't think it doesn't have an effect on us psychologically? And what we, it just does. Some of these lessons are generational lessons, and what we think is so righteous now, generations from now, they'll be laughing at us saying, how could we be so stupid? And I'm sure that COVID is going to be one of those.
Absolutely. There are a lot of stuff that we do today that, in hindsight is going to look really, just like how we look back 200 years ago, 300 years ago at the things they were doing back then and, make fun of them. Same thing is going to happen to us now. People in the future are going to be looking back and making fun of, how we conducted things.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with physical gold. Actually, silver. Some people think that silver is great cash. Gold is not such great cash, but a good store of value. It's jurisdictional. Gold will be very, particularly if freedom of travel is going to be restricted, then gold and silver will can become very useful. Nothing's going to be as useful as Bitcoin, and Bitcoin will actually be the mechanism to reinstate freedom. I do see. I don't know if you noticed when you came across the border, or did you notice that they now have the little QE boxes on the way out? So what's coming inevitably is you're going to have to. Right now, you can freely come from the United States into Mexico, but the United States already has a little QE boxes to stop you and question you on the way out. And you were just looking that up. I said, when you bring $10,000 into the U.S., you have to declare it. But I didn't realize if you take $10,000 out of the U.S., you have to declare that.
Right, but I mean, you're supposed to, but they're not. I mean, no one's going to stop you if you're leaving on a plane, sure. But I mean, if you're just driving across the border.
Well, they're getting ready to stop you though. So I'm saying they have a little.
Well, the Mexican side did stop me, and they questioned me a little bit. I don't speak Spanish, and they didn't speak English, so we kind of, we kind of figured it out. But they were asking me what I was bringing with myself,
But so. The U.S. has the little QE stations up there. They're going to stop you. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing is, if you are carrying I always declare it. It's a very easy procedure, mm-hmm. And it is a felony if you don't declare it, and you're just setting yourself up for a problem if you don't. I'm already a convicted felon. I'm sure I'm watched very closely. I have a huge FBI file. It probably takes the size of this room. So. That's just what it is, and you have to play the game too. There are people in control.
Ugly old goat is gangster. That's your street name. Ugly old goat. Thug life.
Well, they may not die, but they'd be as good as dead. I mean, the whole thing is, you need to understand, I've written articles on it. There's a difference between currency competition and competition of standards, okay? Currency competition is we agree on a standard and we compete on that standard. That's what is the burr in the throat, the crawl in the throat that gags people. They can't stand not having control. They're really inflated. They're central bankers. They want to be the standard.
Any system where you can print money, they will print money. So okay. This is why it's a little ridiculous to even try to figure out what ETH's supply cap is, because it doesn't matter what it is. They can always increase it. So even if they have a cap, they can always make it more. So because they've already raised it once. And once you raise it once, that's it. You can't say, well, we're not going to raise it again, because they will raise it again.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're done. unless there's another question, thanks for coming on, Bitcoin
Oh,
Motorist.
thank you. Thank you for
Thanks,
having me on.
Galileo, for helping us with that trade. It still hasn't really worked at all. It's not going to work until we hit new contract highs. But if gold does break that 2000, we're into uncharted territory. And, there are, I mean, it may not do it this year. It's possible. We are on a monthly 9, but that doesn't worry me too much because I've seen monthly 9s that starts all over and goes another 9 months. So the play is they're just going to have a real hard time breaking gold much with everything going on. And will the traditional role of gold resume? Yes. It's not going to go away. It's still going to be, to me, it would be wonderful if the national governments may eventually be forced to readopt a gold standard. Now, and that would be great. It'd be great to see Bitcoin, which is sound money, compete with another sound money within.
I'm going to challenge you on that, Ugly, because I think that once you go off of a gold standard, it's impossible. It's a one-way street. It's impossible to get back on a gold standard because once you've removed the gold standard once, there's nothing to say that you can't do it again. So even if they go back on the gold standard, no one's going to trust it because they're like, well, they already took us off gold standard before. So to me, it's a one-way street. Once you're off, you're off. There's no going back on. So it's almost like the supply cap thing. Once you raise the supply once, you can't say, well, we're not going to raise it again. We're going to keep it. So once you do it once, it's you can already do it again. So
well, it has been done over and over again through different civilizations.
Right.
I mean, basically, you have a total collapse of civilization, and then it gets rebuilt upon some form of a gold standard. Hopefully, and there have been instances where currencies have devalued, and they've done like a 10-to-1 or 100-to-1 split, and which they can do, and it's possible. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but I said, wouldn't it be great if it did? And I don't rule it out. That's the whole thing. There are some people that are making some cases that I see it very hard coming from within. Apparently, there's a struggle going on within the Trump administration.
Mhm.
There's people, somebody that they're trying to do, some lady that's going to be the next Fed.
Yeah, that's Judy Shelton.
Yeah.
If you want to
Okay.
research that, it's
Okay.
Judy Shelton. She's a big proponent of the gold standard, and she's being nominated, or she's going through the process of becoming part of the
Right.
So was
Fed
Alan
board.
Greenspan.
Yeah, but so
Alan
was
Greenspan was a big proponent of the gold standard
no,
also.
Alan Greenspan was a very hard money guy, but he capitulated completely. So
Mhm.
but that's
It's just an indication. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen, but it's definitely interesting to see.
And to me, it's a possibility, and it would be a wonderful possibility. The first country that does it is going to be way ahead of the game, and will force other countries to do it. So,
right. Well, I think that's what they were saying about a Bitcoin standard. It's not going to be the U.S. that adopts Bitcoin first. It's going to be a smaller country, some Eastern European country or some Middle Eastern country is going to start, hoarding Bitcoin, and then that's what's going to kind of lead the world to a Bitcoin standard. It's not going to be the U.S. or Western Europe leading the way.
But it doesn't depend. A gold standard depends on governments. Bitcoin doesn't.
Exactly.
That's the big difference. And so Bitcoin transcends those, and I think it'd be wonderful to have sound money within jurisdictions, and that's basically what a gold standard will do. You won't be, and it will be, and you know what? If as a Bitcoin hodler, I'm going to just naturally want to take my wealth to a country that has sounder money, and so
Right.
my theory behind it is that a country that puts themselves on the gold standard is going to attract a whole lot of Bitcoin wealth, because that's where the opportunity will be for the rest of the world. And I don't think everybody's going to have Bitcoin, but I think everybody will be on the Bitcoin standard. It's a way that it's a way you price it. Most of the people at the turn of the century, they didn't know they were on the gold standard. Yeah, they knew gold was money, but they really didn't understand all the ins and outs. That was the innovation that bankers made. And that was the idea of non-inflationary money creation, which I know a lot of these hardcore 100% reserve people, they don't get it. I called Murray Rothbard a gold socialist because he wanted to anything less than 100% reserve is fraud. Well, no, it's not. Not if that reserve is also represented by new products and coming into the marketplace. So that's an ideology work. It's kind of an in-house battle that I have with the Rothbardians and a certain segment of the Austrian economists, but because I think they're absolutely off base there, but certainly it's a debate worth having. So, yeah, I'd love to see a gold standard, and gold's useful. Silver's still going to be useful, okay? Particularly if you see the chaos that's happening in some of these cities in the U.S., if that becomes more widespread. We don't have any of that down here in Mexico, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mexico's there's no, unless you're in some kind of business you shouldn't be in, it's a very peaceful place. So, all right. All right. So we're done, I think. Thank you for coming on. We'll do a little,
Thank you for having me.
guys, we do a little dance. And the way I explain Bitcoin is you hodl, because it's the thing you save. You save, and by save, I mean you spend a little bit, reward yourself for being a hodler, and then you build it. Whatever you do it well. Be the best at what you're doing. Prior to Ugly Old Goat, and I still have my other business, I had a voice broadcasting business. We specialized in political campaigns. In fact, we still are doing one. We're going to be doing one for candidates coming up here soon. We did a lot for Ron Paul, and we're largely responsible for him carrying those 4 states he had through doing some push polling and getting people to the caucuses. So I had nothing to do with it. I just provided the service. So some guys smarter than I am wrote the programming, and we were just the technicians. But having lots of fun here. We're going to go to Erindia on the Razors, and maybe we will have internet, so maybe we'll broadcast.
Sure.
Maybe I'll do something on Twitter if I have a signal. I don't know. I don't think I have a signal there, but we will have satellite internet. So thanks for tuning in, and that gold trade, hopefully it's starting to work. We'll find out. I don't want to, I'll probably be not risking much. I think we should have probably bottomed it out today, and hopefully we'll start our way up to that 2,000. The trade isn't confirmed until it gets over that. And again, it's a seasonal trade. There's no technical behind it. So we're buying it now, we sell it in October, or we might even hold on to it longer, but that's what we're doing. Trading competition will not be until the first of the year. We're going to spend the next few months putting that up, and you can actually join it after the first of the year. And there'll be a few rules because we have to monitor you, and it'll be great. The only reason we're monitoring, we don't want anybody gaming the system. We don't want somebody doing trades here and then there. So and they have to be real time. You can't send it to us after the fact. We have to have it on the equity app, and we'll actually have a special website where the top 10 show up, not their actual trades, but their equity fluctuations. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think everybody will learn a lot. I know, you guys have helped me out a lot on the Telegram group. I feel like it's the best thing I've ever done, and looking forward to getting back. But I'm in no hurry to, guys. I'm gonna just, I need to work on this book. I need to get that out on equity trading, because I think that's what's needed out there. The TA, there's all kinds of stuff out there on that, and it's really, it gets people in more trouble than help. So that's where we're going. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, guys, and we will see you maybe tonight if we make it to Rindy in one piece without rolling over the razor. So
Try not to get wrecked.
yeah, try not to get wrecked. But you know what? We just we might get wrecked, but we're not going to get ruined. So,
Exactly.
all right.
All right.
All right. So let's end it with our little dance. Hodl,
Hodl, hodl, save, save. Build a. Sound money.